All right, what's going on, y'all? We are live in Houston. Welcome to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue. So excited about this episode today with my guy, Demetrice Ballenger. But before we get into that, make sure you like this video. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're on audio, you should come over to YouTube to get the full experience, but leave a rating and review. Man, thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me down here, and I'm so excited to be at this development, man.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Definitely. Well, how you feeling today?
Cold.
Yeah, this cold is, you know, I thought I was gonna get a break from the chilliness, but it's cold out here, man.
Absolutely, man. We got the cold front came in, this last week. So I think Monday and Tuesday it was like 18, 19 degrees.
Yeah. Definitely, man. So where are we? Talk to us about where we are right now.
So this is our Benbrook community, located in the North Line area of Houston, which is about 15 minutes from downtown, depending on traffic. This is a 84-home community. We have a total of 41 homes on the ground, 33 homes sold, and out of that 33, we've had like 15 of them closed and moved in. We have another 43 to build. We have started 7 out of the 43, and as soon as we get a few more units closed, we're going to start another 15 homes. This area is one of the new developing areas, so to speak, in this part of town. I don't know if you paid attention when you come in, but the Yes Prep school across the street, that school is only like 12 months old.
Oh.
So everything is changing, and if you go about 5 minutes east of here, close to the Hardy Tollway, they built a high school about 4 years ago that is a STEM program.
Wow.
Science, technology, engineering, math. So that was one of the dictators of why we moved on this site back in 2019.
2019, so it's crazy. It's 2019 and it's 2024, so that's 5 years.
Right.
And one of the things we were talking about off camera is like people have this perception that as a developer, you're making the money like that, but you just mentioned a 5-year timeline.
Right.
So talk to us about like that process, just from identifying the site to, the process and where we are now.
So first, when you're identifying sites, at least for us, I can't say for everybody, but most seasoned developers, when you're identifying sites, you're first, negotiating the terms. And then once you go into contract on the site, this was a 6.2 acre site. And so what you're doing is, you're going to ask for a long feasibility study because there's things that you want to submit to the city, like your proposed site plan. You want to submit for your water and sewer capacity letters. So really, it's been longer than that because we had the site on the contract about 7 or 8 months.
Wow.
Just going through the due diligence. So when we close on it, we can have some pre-approvals from the city that the proposed project that we put together, where we're raising the capital from the investors, can actually be done. And some of the challenges that you run into on a site like this is, for example, once we closed on the site, started submitting for the replats to get the property replatted and recorded for this, we ran into all kind of issues, man.
Wow.
We ran into issues because we had to bring in a consultant from Centerpoint to basically help us lay out the electrical plan and the gas line plan for the civil engineer, and then we had to get easement approvals from neighbors. So it took us about 2 years just to get through the planning and approval process with the engineering. Then once that's approved, then you got to start working on the coordinating, the financing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So on projects like this, man, don't look at it as you're going to be in it today and get out of it tomorrow. These projects take time. It takes special. You're not dealing with your more so your everyday investor on this project. You're more so partnering up with investment funds on this that understands the life cycle of bigger projects, and they're buying into the long-term vision with you of scaling up to more bigger projects like this.
Definitely, that makes a lot of sense. So I heard a couple things that I think people may not know about. So you mentioned feasibility studies. I think easements.
Easements, yep.
And then was it? I think that was it. What are those for like people who may not have heard about it?
So feasibility studies, in layman's terms, I always like breaking it down, where everybody can understand. Feasibility studies in layman's terms is what you call an option period. So when you're buying a house and you're putting a house under contract, you typically get like a 10 to 14 day option period. So you can get your inspection done, you can make sure you're getting your, you want to have your pre-approval letter in the beginning, but you're making sure you're working through the financing of that, or providing your lender with all your necessary documents. So on the on the development side, a feasibility study is just like an option period.
Right.
But during that feasibility period, you're getting your surveys done, you're getting your water capacity letters back from the city, your sewer capacity letters back from the city, you're meeting with your engineer and your architect simultaneously to kind of draw out a few preliminary site plans for the community. And you're coming up with some proposed architectural plans, so that way when you're submitting stuff to the city, you're submitting to have your meeting set up with the city to make sure that this proposed project that you're trying to do on the site that you have on the contract can actually come to fruition. So that's in a nutshell, that's kind of what a feasibility study is.
That makes sense. And then what about easements?
Easements are typically like, so I don't know how it is in LA, but I know for Houston, every property has an easement, like a utility easement. So on most houses, you're gonna have especially inside the city, you're gonna have like a 3-foot easement in the back of your property. Well, that easement is for if CenterPoint needs to come in your backyard. CenterPoint is like our gas provider. If they need to come in your backyard, if the city of Houston needs to come in your backyard, they have like a 3-foot easement that they have the right. Even if they tear it up, they're gonna fix it, but they have the right to come in the backyard. But in this particular case, we needed easements from the homeowners, the older community that abuts to this project. We needed easements so CenterPoint can bring the new power lines down. So I know the cameras can't see it, but directly behind you, those are new power lines that came. So we needed easements from all the homeowners to bring that line down.
That makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned the school, you mentioned that this area is kind of developing. Like what were some of the other indicators back in like 2019 or even prior that caused you just to identify this site and this area?
So we do a lot of market rate development projects, but one of the things we're also pivoting to is affordability. And so an area like this that is being redeveloped, it allows you to bring a lower price point. So land prices is cheaper, number one. Development costs went up too. I forgot to talk about that, but we can recircle that. But land cost was cheaper, which allow us to be able to bring a cheaper price point. We're able to put more homes on it that spreads the land cost to make the lot cost cheaper. There was a lot of indicators that, and be specifically, when we bought this site, we had no new construction comps in the area to prove that this was going to work. We had 2 sites away from here, which is Parker Road, that was 71 homes, and Berry Road, that was 67 homes. Those projects was under construction when we actually bought this site. And so we had no comps, but we initially started out at like a $269 price point, which the comps for resales in this area, I think the highest was like $230. So we had to get appraisers involved to kind of, pull comps from outside of your typical radius that an appraiser pool comes from for new construction. So that was a lot of indicators of why we wanted to focus on this area for affordability. And then with the attractions that's around here. Like I say, you're in between a major highway to the west of us, which is Highway 45, and you're in between a tollway, which is to the east of us. So you got 2 access points of getting downtown. You have a Whole Foods 365 that is about 10 minutes from here. You have Houston Community College that is a fairly new, I won't say university, but a fairly new location that they built about 10 minutes from here as well. You have the Yes Prep School. They put their site under contract the same time we put this under contract. You have the STEM High School that's over to the east of us. So it was a lot of good indications that this was a great area to kind of start focusing in.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. So what was the approximate cost of the land?
This was 6.2 acres. We paid 1.25 for it.
Got you. And then what's the approximate cost to build all the homes?
Looking at about $110 per square foot to build a home.
Got you.
And that's turnkey ready. And that's not your development. It's more so just your house itself. From putting your underground utilities in, to pouring the foundation, to handing the buyer the keys at closing. So if you take your square footage of a home and times that by $110 a square foot, that's your approximate construction cost.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. So how are you raising funds for the project? Like, how does the financing part of it, of buying the land and building everything, how does that work?
So we went into a partnership with our long-term standing relationship. So basically, the builder that we went into a partnership with was responsible for securing the funds for this project, and we was involved. It came from putting a real estate fund together to fund not only the land, to fund the horizontal development, and then we work with a bank and get into vertical construction loans to fund the construction of the homes. So typically on projects this size, like I said, you're not dealing with private investors.
Yeah.
You're dealing with some larger funds that you can put together, as well as you're dealing with your community banks.
Yeah.
You don't. Projects like this, you can deal with your Chases and your Wells Fargos, but the best results you're going to get are working with your community banks, because they specialize in giving out money in the community.
Definitely.
For redeveloping the area and for what you call community development. Yeah.
Definitely. That makes a lot of sense. Man, so since I've been here, I've seen a new development. No matter what part of town I'm in, there's construction going on. There's so much activity going on. Talk about just like what's happening in Houston right now, because something's going on.
Houston is the... So I moved here in 2008, finishing school up, Prairie View, and when I coming from Georgia to Houston in that 2008, which was, everybody knows the market crash, the recession, it was night and day. In Georgia, you saw a lot of people, being laid off, companies closing temporarily. You saw some people losing properties, which was the worst thing since the Great Recession. When I got to Houston, highways was backed up, construction was on every corner, and it was like, what the world? How does a city function in something they compare to the Great Recession? So I knew from my initial time I got here, I wasn't leaving. But to answer your question, what's going on is, man, we're the energy capital. You have all your oil and gas companies here. Texas is the land of oil and gas. We have the #1 medical center in the world here. So you have a lot of internationals flying here for treatment, cancer treatment. You have technology here. You have governmental funding here. You have a lot of Fortune 500 companies here. So we're a very engineering professional city. It's very affordable here. Before COVID, our average price in Houston was about $290,000.
Wow.
COVID did, prices increased due to inflation. So prices are now at about, last year I would say prices were about $415. I was coming back down to $380. So it's very affordable here, and there's so much opportunity to grow. We have and this is a good question that you're asking. We there's your organizations here in Houston. We have one called the Greater Partnership of Houston, and there was an event I attended last May of 2023, which I never knew this. What I'm about to tell you, I never knew this. Houston is like the #4 port in America.
Wow.
But we have the #1 port when you look at container count, shipment account, importing in and exporting out. And so what the president was speaking about, the president of the Houston port was speaking about, he was talking about Houston, with all the recession talks that was happening last summer, whenever you have you're always projecting your numbers. And so Houston, with the exports and imports that was going out, it was an indication that Houston was still going to weather this, due to the fact of all of the cargo coming in from overseas. So that was an indication to me that the way that he explained it was, whenever you have a lot of, so give you last year, let me give you some numbers. 2023, you had over 120,000 people relocate to Houston. The way that the CEO of the Houston Port broke it down, out of that 120,000, 49% of those are international people that are relocating here. And out of that 49%, 36% of those people are entrepreneurs that's going to come here and start companies and create work, create opportunities for people, employees. And so it's always a good, opportunity to go to those type of meetings, because what I also learned out of that meeting, the city of Houston has already committed to funding over $10.2 billion to increase the infrastructure of the Houston port. So saying that to say this, Houston is kind of like the hub. We're a very diverse environment. I compare us to like California and New York, number one, and number two, man, everybody works here, man. Everybody gets along. I know you know the saying, don't mess with Texas. We are our own, we are our own entity. So, yeah.
Definitely, I love that, man. So talk a little about your journey into real estate development and just how do we get here? How do we get to this point? And of course, there's like other projects we haven't spoken about yet, but what's the journey to get to this point?
So a little bit about me. I'm from a small town in Georgia. I'm from a rural part of Georgia. Even if I named the town, you probably wouldn't know it.
What's the name of it?
But it's a town called Waverly Hall, Georgia.
Okay.
At the time, it was like 2,700 people in my hometown.
Wow.
I think my high school graduation class was like 250.
Wow.
We was considered the golden class, the 50th class to ever graduate, and the highest number of people that graduated.
Yeah.
But saying that to say this, my dad has been in land development and land construction all of his life. So I grew up around a lot of projects like this, from subdivision developments to apartments to retail. When I initially started my college journey, I thought I was going to be an architect. I can draw very well, but I quickly learned that's not for me. I'm a numbers guy. I'm more of a straightforward numbers guy type of guy, and I pivoted to start studying civil engineering. Worked in the field for about 2 to 3 years, and then jumped into real estate full time, man. I got my real estate license, and me, I'm a person that I don't know how to have one foot in, one foot out. Whatever I'm involved in, I'm fully committed. So I jumped into real estate full time, started, started representing the traditional buyers and sellers, but I quickly pivoted into representing land and selling land to developers. And then that led to, me getting more involved in development projects. And what I saw early on, there was a need for a middleman. And what I say a middleman is you have a lot of investors that have money to do projects, but they don't know how to walk the project from A to Z. So what I saw was there was a need, for someone to come in and say, hey, here's a site plan, here's the preliminary architectural plans, I built out the pro forma, we got the surveys done, I can put you in communication with my architects and engineers. I have the commercial institutions from the construction loan financing available. So what I saw was there was a need to package deals up like paper develop and hand it off to you, Sam, and you're able to take this to the bank. You can run your numbers and your personal pro forma to balance it out to see that the numbers work, but it cuts down the learning curve, or it cuts down the curve of you trying to figure this all out, Sam, yourself. And it started from there, and then it started from an investor coming to me saying, hey, why don't you be a partner in this deal? You have all the relationships with all of the, with your engineering, your architect, your surveyors, your builders. Why don't you come in as a partner on this? We'll fund the deal, but you, bring in, so we're not asking you to bring no money in, but you bring the sweat equity in. So that, it started from there, and then just kept scaling up, brick by brick by brick. So,
Love that. I love that. What's the price range on these homes?
So here we have 9 different floor plans, ranging from 1,398 square foot up to a 2,000 square foot floor plan. Pricing, the average price point is about $289.
Gotcha.
When we initially started pre-selling the first phase back in January of 2023, we were marketing a $269 sales price. But of course, costs kept going up, and we had to slowly increase our prices. And now we're at an average price point of $289.
All right, so I know everybody's probably worrying about money, right? What's the process to buy one of these beautiful homes? And so we got Maurice Tillman, who is the preferred lender for Wynwood. And so just love to first talk about how you two got connected, and then we can talk about your background a little bit and what's the process like to buy one of these homes.
Okay. So how we got connected was, this was back in 2019. Maurice randomly called me. He cold called me.
I was cold calling everybody.
And he more so told me, he called me and said, hey, I see you representing a lot of projects, and you got this project over here close to Acres Homes. Number one, who's the lender you're working with? And I went through that. Then he was like, I can provide 100% financing. At the time, I had never heard of a loan product with 100% financing. And I was like, what? So he came by, printed some flyers out, I think. And he left, and I called my partner. I said, hey, man, this dude just left talking about he can give us 100% promise. My partner, he was like, man, there's no way possible that can happen. Man, he's full of crap. He's just blowing smoke up the business. And so Maurice kept calling. And in that 3-unit project we had, 3-home project we had, we basically said, hey, we got someone that wants to buy a house here. Let's see what you can do. Long story short, that was a $330,000 house, 1787 square foot, if I remember correctly. She only brought like what, $500 to close it.
Yeah, like $600.
$600 to close it on a $330,000 house.
Wow.
And when we got that deal closed and funded, I hung up the phone with my partner. I said, man, I'm working with Maurice going forward. Because there was and this was the strength of a relationship too. This happened during COVID. So we went under contract, then COVID happened. Of course, buyers started getting, nervous of what was going to happen with the market. People started catching COVID. I remember out of one of the homes that was bought, the buyer that was buying it, her husband ended up catching COVID. So then the people that was buying her house, that family caught COVID. So it was like a domino effect of multiple people being in the hospital.
Yeah.
Her father-in-law had to step in as a signer to sign for her son. Because he was it a respirator?
That dude almost died.
Yeah, he almost died. He was on a respirator.
Crazy, yo.
And so it was the beginning of our relationship in a very challenging market.
Yeah.
And then by the time April, May came, everything just took off.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Why'd you keep calling?
Man, look. So I was working for a bank, and they basically was like, hey, we want you to go after, some, low-hanging fruit. And I was driving, when I was driving into the office every day, I was driving past his projects. And so I just kept calling, and you see something so often, you basically gonna say, look, either you gonna have to, I'm a person, you gotta tell me no.
Yep.
And so his boss told me no at the time. And I was like, well, man, there gotta be somebody else. I went on their website, and he was the next person with the most listings. And so I ended up calling him, and as he kept pushing me off, and I kept telling him like, no, man, this no one really works or whatever. And he finally was like, all right, let me give you this test loan and see what happened. And from there, that's when he saw that, okay, we really can build houses in these communities, and these buyers get these projects or products to be able to, come to closing with $500-600 or whatever, and get a rate. I think her interest rate was like 3.5% or something.
3.5%. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the criteria, it didn't have an income limit. It didn't have mortgage insurance, so it kind of saved her a lot of money to be able to take advantage of something like that. And once he saw the value, it was more, okay, well, where else can you lend?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Man, I'm glad you brought that back up, Maurice, because that was such a transitional time, Sam. Because that's when I was with City Quest Properties before starting Wynwood. So the startup of Wynwood happened, COVID happened. it was all like simultaneously.
Yeah.
I'm working with him now. So yeah, I forgot about all that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great testament to the strength of the relationship, because like you said, it started off with some really hard stuff, and a test for the relationship. And I mean, if that didn't work out so well, I mean, you probably wouldn't be standing here.
I definitely wouldn't.
Even with your transition.
Yeah, so like now I'm effective. Well, technically today I could say I moved over I'm with Cornerstone, which is one of the larger lenders here, and they focus not primarily, but heavily on builder relationships. And so I basically went over there to, strengthen not only my relationship in the lending space within Houston, but also for his products to say, hey, if you're gonna have a project and it's gonna have 84 homes, partner with a lender like Cornerstone to be able to say, these are the products that we offer. So I don't have to, if I turn someone down or turn someone away, it's because we don't have a product that fits your criteria.
Yeah.
But I could do everything now from down payment assistance to I-10 to, foreign nationals.
Yeah.
To be able to purchase homes now.
Love that. Love that. So what's the process like for the folks looking to buy here? Like, what are the different loan products and things that people can use to close on one of these properties?
So like the first thing is that this community qualifies for down payment assistance through City of Houston if you income qualify to be able to get that product. There's other down payment assistance that the state of Texas has, which is like through TSHAC and SETH and TDACA. But now Cornerstone also offers, products that are, either being directly related to them or they're going to correspond lend out through another bank. Like we offer Chase's product for people to be able to buy houses. So I always tell every buyer is different.
Yep.
What you might qualify for because you have savings, he might not have savings to be able to qualify, and I got to work a little bit more or, take him to a different product. So we're going to have conventional loans, FHA loans, which is, been doing really well. We have VA. If I get VA buyers, that's like easy.
Yeah.
At that point, we're just, because the veterans, they want veterans to be in houses. This does not qualify for USDA because it's inside the city. And then everything else is really just what's your credit score, what's your income look like to be able to determine, what direction I need to put you in. And so I always tell people what you qualify for might not be what he qualifies for.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What has it been like in the last year, just with the high rates and things of that nature? How's it been navigating that? I'm sure you've probably had to get a little more creative to try to get deals closed.
I mean, it's been when the rates reached a peak, which was like 8.5%, no one really was buying. So we had to get creative. I had to go to him and his investors and his partner and say, look, you want buyers to come into this community, we got to start getting creative as far as like seller credits and then lender credits to be able to create an environment for the realtor to bring their buyer. Because they're, I always say, the realtor's the one who have the buyer, but the builder's the one who has the product.
Yep.
And I'm just a facilitator of the money.
Yep.
And once we kind of figured out to say, hey, what are you willing to give up? What am I willing to give up to make this relationship work? Then at that point, I think you had like 10 houses or something that, 7, I think it was 7 houses that we basically identified to say, hey, these 7 houses, we're gonna put this on. And at that point, we kind of made a video, well, not me, because I've,
so basically, Sam, to touch on what he's getting at, what we did was we picked 7 houses out of the community that was available at the time. And Maurice got with his team and said, hey, Demetrice, we can offer a buy down rate, but this, you guys as the seller got to be willing to contribute the money towards it.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was 2.2% of the loan amount that you can buy the rate down. And I think here the average cost to buy the rate down was like $6,500.
Yeah.
So what we did was we put together like a $10,000 seller credit, $6,500 to buy a rate down.
Yep.
To like a decent credit score.
Yeah.
I mean, not decent credit score, but decent loan rate. And then we use the remaining to kind of incentivize realtors and typically in real brokerage terms, a BTSA, a bonus to selling agent. So we came up with that like $10,000, and I think we did fairly well.
Yeah, there's a lot of traction.
We're getting that traction going. But another thing, what we was able to pivot through was, this is shortly after that, after those homes got sold, we planned a grand opening here, which is what I was telling you about, Sam. And through our partnership with Valero Title, Josie Anderson, she has relationships with Harris County.
Yeah.
So Maurice has relationships with the city of Houston, and she has a relationship with Harris County, and so she brought Harris County out, and Harris County fell in love with the community, liked the product, and they have a program to where they can buy directly from builders and developers. They'll buy the homes directly to be able to turn around and sell to their list of approved buyers through an affordable housing program.
Yeah.
And which was very eye-opening to me, at least for me, because when you think about your typical affordable housing, you're thinking about, Section 8.
Yep.
But in this particular case, the affordable housing, what they're referring to is like your city workers, your firefighters, your police
Teachers.
officers, your teachers, people that work inside the city and don't necessarily make the income to afford a market rate home.
Yep.
And so they have a program that those professionals can go through that program and purchase homes from. So that was very eye-opening to me and became the beginning of a partnership that we're working out with Harris County.
Definitely. I love that. And the reason I asked that just about how things have been in the last year is because you guys know a bunch of people here and elsewhere, I'm sure. A lot of people were just sitting back instead of figuring out, like, how can we still make money? How can we still get people to the closing table?
We talk on the phone, if it ain't every day, it's at least 6 times a week. And our goal when we on the phone is to figure out where we at with sales, what projects are coming up, where is it, what's the price point going to be, because my job is to figure out who your buyer is. How much money do they need to make?
Right.
Like if you're going to build a $500,000 home, then your buyer is not a teacher. Your buyer is someone who's on a salary that's probably making $100,000+ a year, and they don't have student loans or whatever. But if you're in this $250 to $320 price point, you're looking at someone who's either hourly or making, their salary is probably 50 to 60K, and they probably have student loans, they probably have a car payment. And my goal is to say, okay, well, if this is your buyer, how do you market to them? Yeah. What do they need? Do they need money? Like teachers, they have retirement accounts, but we can't use that as savings.
Yeah.
So now we have to say, okay, well, we know they're not gonna have money to come to closing, so we gotta figure out how we can get them in the house.
Yep.
Because they have great credit, they got good job history, but they just have, their money is put in a TRS account, Teacher Retirement Savings or something like that, that's what it stands for. So we can't use that at all. So that's already off the table. So now it's, do you have $2,000? Do you have $4,000, $6,000, whatever? How much money can you come up with? And let me go to him and say, all right, I got a teacher, she has a good job, she has really great credit, but she don't have any money. What can you do to get this buyer in the house? This is what I'm gonna do to contribute to help her get into the house, or him. We always say her, but help him or her get into the house. And so when we talk on the phone, like I said, our job is just to figure out how many houses you got left. Do you want to do anything to kind of incentivize people to kind of close out this community? Or do you want to incentivize people to start the community? Or what community are you building next? And what's your goal? How fast do you want these houses to be sold? Like everyone always say, I want it sold like yesterday. Okay, cool. What are you willing to do for yesterday to be accomplished?
Yeah.
And Sam, I think, Maurice, we just had this conversation Thursday. New construction, man. Pre-sales is the lifeblood of selling these projects out. Because when you work out your financing arrangements with the banks on the construction loans, like if you're not pre-selling, it slows you down from being able to exit out of the project soon. Because if you're just waiting to, once you got almost a fully completed home or a fully completed home to be able to sell, you're not able to go to the next phase of the project until you get a certain percentage of that first phase sold out to be able to take to the bank. So to give you numbers for perspective, let's say the bank allows you to build 10 homes in your first phase. Well, the bank won't allow you to start the next 10 homes until you get 50 to 60% of the first phase sold out. And they want to be able to see those contracts executed and entitled with earnest money delivered. Some banks, depending on how you structure the loan, may not allow you to go to the next phase until those first 10 homes are built, sold, closed, and funded.
Wow.
But on projects this big, you're always going to be negotiating with the bank to like say, hey, if we get X amount of homes pre-sold in the first phase, can we start the second phase?
Yeah.
And then if we get the remaining percentage of that first phase sold out and half of the percentage of the second phase sold out, can we start the third phase?
Yeah.
And they'll work with you, but then at one point, they're going to even stop that third or fourth phase and say, hey, we want to start seeing homes closed and funded to start paying that loan back down before we feel comfortable releasing more funds to keep going out through the project. So pre-sales is the lifeblood of new construction. That comes with marketing. That comes with spending money up front before you even made a dollar.
Yeah.
That comes with getting creative with our mortgage lender, and we beat our heads, like you say, 6-7 times a week together.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, we got 3 contracts this week in this community, 2 contracts this week in that community. We didn't get no leads in another community. So we're always beating our head of like, hey, what is it we can do in this community?
Yeah.
Which I'm happy about his new transition because, oh shit, Cornerstone not only has a variety of loan products for the mortgage industry, but they have different programs for builders and developer industry. That's number 1. That's number 2. Number 3, they can also get loans closed within 10 to 15 days.
Whoa.
Yes.
That's really fast.
Number 4, the icing on the cake that took it for me when I met with Nick was they're the in-house lender, mortgage lender for Perry Homes and some other notable national builders. And so to have that now as a new partnership and someone that I trust that I've been working with for years now, away from our business relationship with friends, someone I trust, I know we're in good hands now. So having someone like Harris County as an institutional buyer that's filling a void and a potential beginning of a new partnership for us to expand, not only just as a buyer, but also maybe some public-private partnerships to help offset the costs, which we can get to that a little bit later.
Yeah. I think for me, the transition was definitely the 10-day close.
Yes.
That they advertised to say that, and it's based on if you're doing like a normal conventional FHA type loan, that you can close in 10 days. And then the other was, for him, was the fact that they work primarily with builders and they have their software built out to be able to not only monitor where each loan is, but they send him updates to say, hey, your loan just went through appraisal. This is the value, and it's all automated. So it's not, where's my loan at? He has his own login to be able to see where the loan is in the process.
Yeah.
So, normally like the biggest thing with lenders and builders alike is if a loan falls and starts to become late, they want to know where the loan is in the process. Realtors want to know where the loan is in the process. Right. But they've made it so automated because they work with so many large builders and what they want to scale up and say, this is what we require for us to work with you.
Yeah.
They give him access to that same information.
Yeah. That's big.
Yeah.
Without costing him anything.
Right.
Right. So it was a win-win for me to move over from my previous employer over to Cornerstone, and for him as a company to be able to take advantage of everything that they offered for him and his company to be able to scale up. So, now the new goal is, and I keep telling him, is, all right, so we at 150 homes a year, we got to figure out how we can get to 300 homes a year.
Definitely. Love it.
So, times like 2023, when interest rates go high, the market becomes very strained. Man, we have a relationship where now we always get creative in those markets. For us, it's almost like the best time for us.
Yeah.
Because we're re-strategizing, we're replanning things, we're coming up with new ideas. He somewhat pulled me into some political aspects along with some other
he got into political. I stay in the background. We getting invited to mayor stuff and
so just building out those different relationships because it helps. It helps.
Definitely. Definitely. Anything else on the finance side?
Oh man, I get started on Monday. Trying to figure out what other programs that they have available that I can assist, this project with and future projects. I think the biggest thing, the one thing I haven't had access to is the I-10 loan, which is for people who don't have a true social security number. They just have like federal tax ID numbers. And because Houston is what, 50% or 49%
49%.
Hispanic, there's a I-10 product is almost required.
Yeah.
To be able to take advantage of, getting those buyers in. We don't have to turn them down or send them to another lender, which is what we were doing, all before. So now it's, if I send you to another lender, it's because out of the plethora of products I have available, you just don't fit any of them. Like
Right.
we do bank statements, everything.
Yeah. Love it.
So,
Love it. Awesome. So let's go inside. Let's check out the model home and talk through that and see what's going on.
Okay.
all right.
So come on, let me show you the model home.
Check it out. So I know you have some other projects going on. So can you tell us a little bit about those other projects happening and progress on those?
Yeah, man. We have Wheatley Villas. That is a community located about 10 minutes from here. That's 24 homes. We're in the first phase of that project now. We have a model home over there too. 8 homes. 2 are out of the 8 are sold already. And as soon as we get maybe 1 or 2 more contracts, we'll start on an additional 8. We have Zebra Landings. That's 21 homes. We just started 7 homes. We're in the process of getting ready to pour the foundations on those 7 homes. We have Pinemont Villas. That's 24 homes. We have 6 out of the 24 being framed right now. We have West Little York. That's 15 homes. We're working on the underground utilities over there now. And that project is going to be a little unique. We're going back and forth whether or not we're going to sell those or lease them out and maybe keep them in the portfolio. So we're going back and forth on that right now.
Yeah.
We have Mansfield. That is going to be 33 homes. We're closing on the construction loan on that the last day of this month, January 31st. And we're going to build 17 homes in that first phase of that project. We have a project located in Independence Heights that is Woodcrest Villas. Those are 5 homes. We built all 5 of those at one time. We're probably about 60 days away from being completed. So we'll be able to see those today too.
Yeah.
We have Brinkman, that's like walking distance from their project. Those are 8 homes. And any day now we're getting the foundations poured on those. That's going to be more of a little higher price point, like $469 on that. And we're currently negotiating. So the beauty of sometimes putting like your billboard signs up on projects of saying like new developments coming soon. I had a gentleman call me that only is interested in that project. Out of everything else we got going on, he's only interested in that one. So we're probably going to get execute a contract here in the next couple of days on a site that we haven't even poured foundation yet. We just got we got each and individual home formed with the underground utilities, just waiting on the foundation to be poured. We have Park on West 22nd. That's a high price point project. That's located in the kind of the Heights, Shady Acres area of Houston. 9 homes. We're priced at $699 on those. We're about 60 days away from being completed. Then we have some projects located to the in close proximity to the medical center. McKinley Street, that's 6 homes. We're about 45, 60 days away from being completed on those, and then we have 2 homes off of Stern Streets that is priced at like the 430 price point.
Yep.
And they just got completed, so
Yeah.
that's the a project that we're trying to get off the books now because they're fully completed. So we're ready to get those sold, and we're getting a lot of feedback on those homes. So we have a lot going on, man.
Man, I lost count. I was trying to add it up in my head. I'm like, it's just a lot. That's what I'm saying. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And we have about 15 projects in the pipeline that we haven't started yet. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you'll be pretty busy for the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, man. We'll be busy and steady growing it and looking to start getting creative a little bit, whether to maybe start adding some build to rent portfolio stuff. Trying to still work through the understanding of the new city codes with its livable spaces, which seems very unique. As you heard yourself. So just trying to understand that more to kind of see how can we tap into that space.
Yeah.
Just to start adding some more Legos to it.
Definitely. So what do you see ultimately, like, when you look 15 years, 20 years down the line, like, where do you want your company to be in this space?
Man, great question. Real estate to me is a part of my lifestyle. So that's like, just another part of me. To my core, I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
And where I'm going with this is, we're in the process now of me partnering up with another business partner of mine, starting up a title company. We're going through all the legal ramifications on that. We're exploring the opportunity of potentially starting up a mortgage company. So we've been speaking, with some attorneys on that end. So for me, as much as I love real estate, I also love business in general.
Yeah.
And so I think I was telling you earlier, off the camera, one of the things that I would also like to do is, eventually put together like a capital fund.
Yeah.
Whether that's to fund more projects like these, or partner up with other developers and as a capital fund of like trying to get more so involved in the whole financial world. This is crazy we talk about this. Me and my wife was having this conversation a few days back. You remember the movie The Banker?
Oh man, I love that movie.
About him being more like a revolutionary.
Yep.
And so for me, if we go back to the conversation we was having earlier, one of the things that inspired me to just like really lock in hard and really, press the gas to start scaling up to do big projects, in Houston, in a city like Houston, sometimes I feel that I'm a revolutionary because I always seem to gravitate towards areas where you don't see a lot of us operating in. And so, I've been going back and forth about trying to become a board member of one of the banks that we work with. And not necessarily saying I want to be a board member to be a board member, but more so become a board member. Number one, I know I add value, number one, but also two, seeing what this position can do for me. You never want to go in a situation just to hold a position. You end up learning and understand. And so for me, it's to understand how the whole banking world works, because who knows what the future holds. I have a strong interest that, putting a capital fund together that may lead to something else. So just trying to understand that side of it. So that's kind of me to my core. I always gravitate towards the opportunity or lane that I don't see a lot of us operating in, and try to not just do it on a small scale, but do it on a large scale.
Definitely. I love that. Yeah, this has just been great. Just checking this project out, just hearing about how everything works together. We got to hear about the financial piece of it, and just like really get into the details of how all of this stuff comes together and where it's going. And I know we got some more to check out, but I appreciate you taking the time. And I know everyone who checks this out is gonna love it, and is gonna get a whole lot of value out of it. And something else you spoke about off the camera is just that with this, like, people will be able to see it, right? Like, we were here, You know, we're
Right.
sitting in it. You
Right,
know,
right.
So I think it'll be a special touch.
Yep. I agree with you.
Definitely. So, man, where can people find you? Where can people keep up what you have going on and stay in touch?
People can find me on Instagram, Demetrice Ballenger, LinkedIn profile, Demetrice Ballenger, Facebook, Demetrice Ballenger. I'm kind of easy to get in contact with that ways, and I'm very responsive, so I'm not the type you send me a message, I ignore it. I check everything.
Definitely.
Emails to text messages to, WhatsApp messages so I'm very easy to get in touch with. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you everyone for listening to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue. If you're on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you're on audio, leave us a rating and review. Demetrice, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you jumping on. And again, I know this is going to be very, very valuable to everybody.
Appreciate it. I enjoy you coming to interview me, man.
Absolutely.
I know we talked about this for a while, so.
I know. Hey, we made it happen when the time was right.
Yep.
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you all so much. We'll talk to you soon.